going back to Diane about total rewards jobs and how demanding they were and how they're changing. Can you talk a little bit more about those changes?
Yeah, for sure. We continue to see a need for real technical expertise in the function, in the total rewards function. And that need is accelerating as things are getting more complex. Even, as we talk about this proliferation of benefits, the negotiations with the different kinds of vendors, as we hear about increasingly complex ways of doing salary, just the work of the total rewards comp and benefits function, there's real technical expertise there. We're seeing, at least from the companies that we interact with through CAHRS, lots of dependence on the compensation consulting firms. And so lots of engagement and interaction with them. And so there has to be expertise within the function internally, but really an ability to partner externally, because we're seeing really specialized practices from the consulting firms. I heard from several companies at a meeting just a few weeks ago, some excitement about doing a total rewards optimization and doing partnering with a consulting firm to do a conjoint analysis to really optimize the benefits offering with this spirit of personalization and customization. And so we're seeing much more synergy and symbiosis with the external consulting firms, but also a recognition that more work has to happen internally. And so this internal work, it's almost taking on a marketing flavor or a marketing feel, and bringing the experience, the total rewards into the employee value proposition. And where we saw that most vividly, I hate to make the quip, companies want their employees to eat their own dog food, right? They're selling things like financial well-being packages to the external clients. Okay, well, internal employees better be at the top of the game and really take advantage of that. And so Tae-Youn and I observed a kind of segmentation. It was the healthcare related companies that were focusing on mental health and wellness. And it was the financial service companies, the insurance providers and the banks and the investment firms that were focused on financial wellness. And so there was an alignment with the employee value proposition, but also what the customer offering, what the company capability was.
On their brand, right? And they could almost use their employees like a pilot group in some ways to make sure these programs are doing what they should and are efficiently operating and things like that.
When we know this, and this is where IBM has been written in the press, like there have been many articles under Diane Gerson that's how she developed a lot of the products and offerings that IBM put out there, is like, let's use our 300,000 employees to get it right. And we're going to use our own products and services before we give them to you. And I think we're seeing that kind of take up and pattern among the other companies, which is super interesting. I just, as an academic watching it, one of the things we know about compensation and benefits is that there's a real stratification, there's a real segmentation in the world, and there are better employers and worse employers. We're typically talking to the best employers. What I'm curious to see is whether that segmentation now is going to happen, like a sorting, and will all of the thin and fit people be working for the health and wellness companies, and will all the rich, financially savvy people, and don't the healthcare people need financial wellness, and don't the banks need fitness? I don't know. So it makes me a little bit nervous about taking that to the extreme, taking that too far. But I think it's going to lead to an ever escalating complexity. The best employers are going to continue to have proliferating offerings and an expectation of more. And that, I'm sure, is scary from a cost perspective. Like, how do we rein that in? There's an old idea of cafeteria plans. Like, are we going to see a reinvention of that in some way? And is it going to require changes to tax laws, different kinds of engagements with regulators. Like there's this gets pretty complex fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tae-Youn, what did you see?
I mean, adding to what Diane said, what I found interesting is, those CAHRS members are generally like large companies that are more resourceful than others. But even among them, some of them said, we are paying 401k below the market. There is no way that we can offer, higher than the market, but we are thinking about how we can offer other things better to compensate those other experiences. So, companies are, even those resourceful companies are thinking about how to balance out those different things. And I'm sure that smaller, less resourceful companies are under much bigger pressure about, how to balance out those different, things about different offerings that they offer to employees. And also related to Diane's point about like HR's functions become bigger or become more strategic, in my view, is that I found it interesting that one of the companies said in the working group said, I'm in the experience group. And at first, like, what is that? And I was wondering about it. And they said they are an total reward experience team working with comp and benefit people. So their role is not remain that small segment, but they are thinking about broader or more strategic role about what they are offering to employees. And that sort of resonated me about the survey that we did, the CAHRS survey back in January. And in that survey, we found that about 82% of the survey participants said that they changed their mechanism to track employee sentiment about what they are getting or about their comp and benefit function, and this led to changes in their communication strategy. So a lot of changes and discussions are happening in this communication part, which is certainly related to this employee value proposition or employer branding. What are their companies about? How can they reinforce employees' experiences in that regard, using all of these different, total reward functions. So I guess I'm sort of repeating what Diane said, but that's also what I learned from this working group discussions.
Yeah, great.